Hey guys, good afternoon. Obviously a quick turnaround to get us where we are today. Um, I had good meetings with our guys after going back and watching the Tulsa game film. Just like I told you guys afterwards, the things we needed to do to win the game, we didn't. It starts by owning the football, giving up too many explosives, and then obviously not making kicks when we need to do it. So could have been more efficient in the red zone as an offense, put up over 600 yards, but got to find ways to get touchdowns when you're there defensively. A couple of those big plays is, there's times if you look at it, right, the big play before the second half, before halftime, and then a couple shots and then a couple missed tackles and missed kicks. That was the story of that game. Unfortunately, it's been a similar narrative in all of our games, right, being done last possession. And then looking at our opponent ahead at Navy, a lot of their games have come down to one possession, right? Their loss to Houston, their loss last week to SMU. Had every opportunity to win that one. Obviously, they beat UCF. So, like a lot of teams, the records necessarily don't indicate what type of team you're getting. Our guys have the right mindset, the right focus. We did a limited practice today. Obviously, we didn't get back. Most of our guys, if you talk to them, really didn't get back into their beds and sleep till 6 a.m. Sunday morning. So, quick rest, rolling, but we know we've got a tough opponent at Navy coming to Liberty Bowl, but excited to be on the national stage. Excited for our guys to continue to show how much they care and are going to try to do it the right way. There's no quit in this team. These guys are still hungry for us to do it the right way. They believe and they got their head held high, and they know that we've got to do whatever it takes to continue to hold ourselves accountable to the standards we set as a program.
Frank and then Evan.
Hey, Ryan. When you're, going over game footage with your team, are you looking at it game by game, or are you kind of looking at this 3-game block as a whole and kind of seeing what the trends are outside of the turnovers, obviously?
Yeah, no, that's Frank. That's a good question. Obviously, we treat each game as its own individual, but I think because of the way, you go 3 wins and then 3 losses. So you got to look and say, what is the trend? And a lot of it is the same stuff, right? The explosive play here or there. Obviously, we had a little bit more penalties versus UTSA, and then the kicking blunders you said outside the turnovers. But, we know defensively we've got to find ways to take away the football, and just something we have not done a good enough job at this year. And we talk about it. I don't mind saying like, oh, look, I don't play we're so close. No, I said, we could easily be 6-0, but we're not. And, what I do is just try to continue to instill confidence in them because the way these last 3 games have gone. So, like I said, post game, if we'd gotten blown out, it would probably be a different tone. So I've got to keep our guys positive and upbeat and just understand like, hey, these games come down to the last minute, and that's the margin for error in college football. And so that just means we got to be better with our details, cleaner with our execution of our assignments. So we've talked about it, and because there are some similarities that have occurred game in and game out, especially in our last 3 losses.
And then you just mentioned that Navy's been in some close games too, so it could very easily you guys be in a similar situation. Do you have that conversation with your players and like, look, this is another game that could come down to a last drive, and we need to have this one in our favor? Yeah,
look, our guys, I think, don't even look at records either anymore. We know that this day and age in college football, the opponent, the conference, none of that stuff matters. We know how tough Navy is. We know the type of game it is. Offensively, we know that they're going to try to control the football. I think someone said they're second in the country in time of possession. So, when you're looking at all those things offensively, we've got to make every drive that we have count, be able to execute at a high level. So they know, look, every game we're playing in this year, again, it will probably be a 4-quarter game, every till last possession type drive. We just got to find ways that we can capitalize, and we come up on the correct side, the left side of the win column.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
Evan.
Ryan, Calvin mentioned something after the game where he said there is he felt that there was a sense of entitlement in terms of guys who feel like Memphis will always find a way to win, but they're not executing enough to show that. When talking to your team, do you get the sense that players kind of have that sense of entitlement in the way that Calvin mentioned it?
Well, look, Calvin has been around and one of those guys that earned everything he's worked for. I mean, he was banged up and could barely practice, but went out there and fought his tail off. So he understands the standard that we have as our program and what we expect. I think we look back and I don't know how many freshmen that played in that game are redshirt freshmen, but I think it was somewhere a number of 16 type freshmen that may have played in that game versus Tulsa. And he understands that he's a leader and he needs to make sure that everybody's withholding the standard that we want as a program. So I appreciate him. It's another voice saying, hey, we got to continue to work harder. There's those vets that have been around for a long time, right? Him, JJ Russell, those guys that get it, that have, that have put in that uniform and have done it the right way and understand there's a certain grit and grind mentality to it. And, a lot of the freshmen that we've got here that are playing, and even some of the redshirt freshmen, they've allowed them to just know Memphis as a successful program. And we continue to push the fact that we got to work and all that stuff. I think that this is a fair statement. I'm not standing on a soapbox, but I think a lot of 18 to 20-year-olds feel entitled to certain things. I think we're seeing it throughout the country. That's part of it. People just want things and don't want to work for it. And so that's the narrative we're going to constantly have to push as educators, as college football coaches, because we're going to have to make sure that the work's done the right way and that everything we're going to want to get, we got to work our tails off for it. I appreciate Calvin's mature enough to recognize that's a trend, and we got to make sure that it doesn't continue on our team or find a way to rear its head in the locker room.
And kind of on a different note, is there any update on Isaac, Gabe, Drake Clark status, or how are they looking for Thursday?
Yeah, such a quick turnaround, obviously, in the game. I'm not going to sit here and talk about the conversations we had with the conference on the health and wellness of our players, with safety after playing a game. But we'll take it day by day. Obviously, it's a quick turnaround. So they'll probably all be game time decisions.
And then again, just going back to what you mentioned about the entitlement specifically to your team, how do you, because Calvin said that, the veterans have to bring it up and talk to them about that, but how do you specifically look at this team, even if they're young, how do you guys try to return to those kind of habits that you guys had where this program was building a winning culture versus trying to keep up a winning culture?
Yeah, I think every single year you're trying to build it. The day of sustaining doesn't exist in college football. It's about building it year in and year out because of the new faces that you're constantly bringing into your program with roster turnover, roster management. So we've got standards that we set. We have a culture that we are building every single day. And the day that we stop trying to build it the right way, the day we let little things slip, right? Whether it's a guy parking in the right spot, wrong parking spot, a guy not cleaning up his locker, a guy not picking up trash, a yes sir, no sir, right? Guys not wearing hoods on in the building, things of that nature. We're constantly trying to implore it. And every time you have new faces, you're going to have to say, hey, here are the standards of our program. And like a lot of things, look, we knew with there'd be a lot of roster change, as we well know, right? Whether it was opt-outs, transfers, anybody that's ever dismissed from the team, all you guys see it as a guy entering the transfer portal. You guys don't ever see guys, because I don't publicly come out and say I threw this guy off the team, because that does nobody any good. So anytime we clean up the roster, there's going to be new faces. We got to constantly make sure those new faces understand the way we want to do things.
Thank you.
Terry and then Cassie.
How you doing, Coach?
Good, Terry. How are you?
Special teams, man. Special teams, man. How do you get in the head of a kicker to make him have that same mindset as a defensive back and the next play mentality? And what's the status of Calvin going back and Rogers coming back as returners?
Yeah, so let me start with the kickers. Terry, that's a question that I've struggled with throughout my career, because specialists are a different breed and all that stuff, man. So I've most of my time I try not to talk to them, because other than some sense of encouragement and get a feel for how they're feeling and what their confidence level. But I'm not there to sit there and, I've got to be a psychiatrist to 124 guys. And I do have those conversations, but look, Joe Doyle's done a nice job stepping in for a position he didn't think he was going to have to do. And then we have a freshman kicker, David Kemp, that told me he was ready, and obviously wasn't able to do it on the stage Saturday night. And so I can't ruin his career. I expect great things from both of those guys. I'm not going to sit there and cuss out a freshman kicker for missing kicks. He's just got to understand. I've had that conversation with him. Hey, look, man, we got faith in you. We got confidence in you. And just like you said, a young defensive back, right? If Greg Rubin makes a bad play, we can't say, oh, Greg's got no chance. No, we're going to rely on Greg Rubin for a long time. And it's no different with a kicker. The mental psyche of kickers is a little bit different. Calvin, like I said, he was banged up last week and fought through the game. And so we tried to be smart with him as a return man. You know, I mean, he won everything, and then probably should have withheld him out on that last drive, but he absolutely refused to. And then Gabe Rogers, like I said, he's a day-to-day. You know, Javon Ivory, obviously we've had now rotated some different kickers back, kick returners back there from Cam Fleming then to Javon Ivory. You know, when Gabe's back, if he's healthy, we assume that he'll probably resume that role. But, you know, Javon did a nice job.
Last one for Cassie.
Ryan, you talk about the shortened week. What exactly is your schedule and how condensed is it with Navy on Thursday?
Yeah, so no sleep for the coaches, roll in. And I think some of the coaches have air mattresses in their offices because we had to roll in and get ready, obviously put Tulsa to bed. But we did do a modified practice today, a shortened practice out there in helmets and shoulder pads, because you can't just go out and assume that you're going to be ready for a triple option team or a team that blitzes every other play without just actually practicing full speed. So we did a modified practice. There's a lot of guys that aren't full go, that are limited in what they're able to do. Tomorrow, we're going to try to treat it like a normal Thursday for us as best we can. So tomorrow's actually going to be a lot of walkthrough and a lot of the mental aspect of it. We're going to get out there in the indoor and walk through as much as we can the plays and within our time limit and a lot of film. And then Friday, we'll treat Wednesday like what we call our fast Friday. So we'll get out there and put back on the shoulder pads and get them banging a little bit because we have to be able to replicate that speed. I know the guys are sore. I know they're tired mentally, physically, but they've kept the right mindset. I was proud of their effort out there today. So, yeah, it's a condensed week. It kind of reminds me of some of the NFL days, right? You play a Sunday game. Now, the NFL would never make a team play a Sunday night game and turn back around and play a Thursday night game. They'd make it Sunday at noon, the day game. That way teams could recover, but where you're just so modified. So putting that schedule together has kind of reminded me back to, you know, playing some of those Thursday night games in the league. And but again, our guys' approach, they've been resilient. I like their mindset and understanding, hey, it is a short week. We got to maximize every second we get on the field, every second we get a chance to watch film and to recover.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.